Hello, I'm Lizzie Paish from Change From Within, and welcome to this third in the series of Real Life Change From Within. And my guest today is Emily Nature, my new friend and colleague who lives and works in Bali. And Emily is a relationship coach working with successful and smart women. So welcome, Emily. Lovely to have you with me this morning.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you for the warm welcome.
So, Emily, can I start just by asking you a little bit about what was happening in your life before you came across the Inside Out understanding and where you were at then?
Yeah, sure. So it's really different, like day and night, before I came across the three principles and the Inside Out understanding. So, like, first of all, I have a tendency to compare myself to almost everyone that I met. So I would benchmark myself and my progress against what I see they're doing, whether it's how much money they're making, whether they're successful in their career or not, they're making a living doing what they love, they're in a relationship they love, they're married or whatever. And I would feel really inadequate and I feel very bad, terrible about myself, and I would feel that I was a failure. And the other thing that was going on in my life and still going on in my life right now is that I'm highly, highly emotional and sensitive. So my roller coasters of emotions are like, and I cry a lot, and I feel I felt sad very often, and it used to scare me. It used to take over my life, and especially when I was in a relationship, then I try to hide it from my partner because it was too much, and then they were also terrified not knowing what to deal with that. So yeah, that was how things used to look.
Yeah, so it sounds exhausting, and I can particularly relate to what you said at first about this comparing with other people. And I think we're almost encouraged to do that, aren't we, by the media looking out there at who's doing what and setting goals and targets, and it can just be exhausting trying to match up and kind of not taking the time just to be who we really are, but to be somebody else almost.
Yeah, it was very tiring, very exhausting. I felt like I never ran fast enough.
Yeah, because you never can to keep up with all of that. Yeah. So what then changed, Emily? How did you come across the three principles, and what changed as a result?
So when I came across the principles, I read Jamie's book, and then I enrolled in the Clarity Coach training program. And it was a really gradual process for me, but I just, I had this insight when I was sitting on an airplane and I looked outside of the window, and I was going from Thailand to Bali, and I was just wondering, who am I? Because when I was, I was born and I grew up in Vietnam. When I was in Vietnam, when I was around my family, then I was a daughter, and I was like a granddaughter and a sister. When I was in Bali, then I was a tenant in the place that I was living. I was a tenant to my landlord. When I was with my clients, and I was a coach. When I was with my boyfriend, then I was his girlfriend. But when I was on an airplane, I was like nobody, and something was missing for me. I was like, who am I? And then I looked outside of the window, and I saw the sky and the clouds and the mountains and the ocean. And I just had this insight that who I am is not only the sky and the mountains and the clouds, but I am also everything on the ground, the people who are running around with the stories in their heads, and the vehicles and the cars and the buildings and the trees, and all of that and more. The essence behind all of that. I am the one that creates the entire system. So who I am is the formless energy. So how can I try to use something in the world of form, such as money, such as career, such as relationship, or whatever, to measure who I am? Of course, it just wouldn't add up. And seeing that, when I saw that, it just wouldn't make any sense to compare myself to anyone or anything. It just occurred to me as absurd. And it just stopped completely. And many days later, I went on Facebook and randomly found out that a lot of my friends from primary school or secondary school have gotten married and now, seemingly living the lifestyle they want. And before, I would probably be like green eyes with envy and jealousy. And this time I was just like, okay, cool. It doesn't affect me. It just doesn't matter anymore.
That's so beautiful, Emily, isn't it, to see that just one realization just shifts and changes everything, and that when something just no longer makes sense, then it stops happening. We stop doing it.
Yeah. I so appreciate this capacity that we have for insights and realization.
Absolutely. So following that, then what other changes did you start to notice in your life?
Okay, so the second change was when I noticed how fleeting and transient my emotions and feelings were. And not just my emotions and feelings, but also everything in the world of form. It was like, because my business is location independent, I travel quite a bit. So I move from place to place. And, one moment I was in Bali, the next moment I saw myself in Thailand, next moment I was in the taxi, the next moment I was on the airplane. And one moment I was upset, next moment I was happy, next moment I was excited. So suddenly, at one time, I just noticed the constant flux of everything. Like everything is constantly changing, morphing, shifting. So trying to hold on to it, trying to manage it and control it, and trying to make it go a certain way, whether managing my emotions or managing the circumstances in my life, also occurred to me as really absurd. Because even when I try to fix it this way, the next moment it will already flow away and it will already become something completely different. So, like, why even bother? It was so exhausting trying to manage my feelings, and that was really liberating for me, being someone so highly sensitive and emotional. So I still cry my eyeballs out quite often, and I feel sad or emotional quite often. And it doesn't scare me anymore, because I realize after all of those have passed, the one that remains is me. Not the body, not the personality, not the emotions, but who I really am. That's the one that stays and that is constant and unchanging. And that's like the certainty and the security that I can rely upon 100% of the time.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote from Sid Banks where he said, if people could learn not to be afraid of their own experience, that alone would change the world. Because that's what we spend so much of our time doing, isn't it? Just trying to escape from certain feelings and trying to avoid them. And I notice that with a lot of my clients, it's this and in the world in general, if I can control stuff, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible, isn't it, to be in control. It's an illusion that we're ever really in control.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I see how this changes my relationship. So now I stop apologizing for feeling sad. I stop apologizing for crying. And I would tell my partner, I would say, when I'm with you, I may cry, and it will have nothing to do with you, but you can trust that I will be okay. I know I've been through this before. It'll pass. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Mhm.
And like, just my trust and confidence in that really does something for the relationship. And so my partner doesn't have to be like overwhelmed or confused or trying to run away and not knowing what to do with me. I'm like, okay, I have my feelings and it's fine. It's totally fine.
Yes, because I think in a relationship, typically what we do is we see someone else behaving in a certain way, and immediately it's all about us, isn't it? We take it personally, and possibly they even think it's all about us. But once you kind of unhook that and start to think, well, actually, I know we're in a relationship, but how I'm feeling now isn't about you, even though it may look as though it is. It's very
Yeah.
liberating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. And when I really know who I really am, that I'm not Emily, not this body, this personality, what happens is that I become more fully self-expressed and playful. So I take on different roles. I get to be more alive, like in expressing my feminine energy. I can be dancing, flirting, and being really sensual and not making it mean anything.
Mm.
Before I would say, oh my God, like I'm a naughty girl, like I'm a bad girl if I act this way or that way. But now I realize it's all made up. It's just a game. So
Yeah.
I don't have much thinking about it. I get to enjoy and express my energy, my feminine energy a lot more, which is amazing.
Yes. And so on a sort of practical level, how has life changed as a result of this? I mean, it sounds so different from what you were describing at the beginning when you say, it's so exhausting to kind of hold on to all these stories about who you are, and how you describe it now just sounds so free and so much easier.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel this sense of peace and effortlessness
Mm-hmm.
that I have not felt before in my life. So coincidences happen, things that just somehow fall into my lap. Like, I didn't make a fuss about my birthday. Like, I didn't plan on doing anything for my birthday. And then 2 days before my birthday, I met my friend who was gonna hold a housewarming party at his gorgeous, amazing, luxurious mansion. And I was like, wow, can I piggyback on that? And and then it was a yes. And as a result of this serendipity or coincidence, um, suddenly I get to enjoy this. And I notice more and more abundance in my life. I can't believe it, but like, I see money coming in like the least expected way. Like, I opened my email and I saw that somebody had sent me money for something, for a job that I have done a while ago, and I completely forgot about it. So that has happened to me twice. And
Mm.
then I checked my bank account and I saw like my bank has sent me money, and I was like, where does this come from? Like, you sent me money. And then I realized it was like interest from a deposit account that I had completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
And like, people just offer to share with me food and experiences. And I the more I experience it, the more I see that, you know before, I used to ask myself, what have I done to deserve this? What
Mm-hmm.
have I done to get to enjoy all of this abundance? And now I realize we don't have to do anything to deserve it, because it's life offering itself back to life. It's life giving back to life, and we are part of life. We are part of that network.
Yeah.
So we are the abundance, the flourishing, the thriving, and it's just organically intertwined and supported itself. And
Mm.
that's what's happening. So there's no longer me trying to make a living and trying to do life on my own. It is just life supporting itself.
And do you think then, Emily, that before you realised that it seems to me that the abundance is always there, but that those sort of feelings of what do I really deserve this, kind of almost make us blind to some of the opportunities that are out there, and closing ourselves off to them.
Yeah, possibly, quite possibly. For me, I used to have the belief that I have to be able to do it myself and
Mm.
create it myself in order for it to be valid. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be the one making the money or buying the thing or organize the part.
Yeah,
But
kind of
yeah,
goes back to that thing about hard work, that we feel like it's got to look like hard work, otherwise it's cheating or something.
yes, yes. So what happens is I just stop taking credit.
Yes.
It's not about me doing this anymore. It's life doing this. It's
Yes.
life happening.
Mm. And then I suppose once you can stop taking credit for it's just life happening. But equally, when things don't go well, when things go in a way you don't want, you can, you're not taking, I don't want to say responsibility, but you're not kind of beating yourself up about it and saying, what did I do wrong? It's just, again, just going with the flow, that kind of roller coaster that you were talking about before.
Yeah, exactly. I know very well what you were saying about beating yourself up when things go wrong. Oh, I used to do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So taking credit for the good and taking the blame for the
Yes.
bad part. And yeah, the understanding of the principles, somewhere along the way I had an insight, and then I just stopped. I
Mm.
saw that, okay, I've taken this long to do what I want to do, so what?
Mm.
There's no meaning to it. There's no significance about it. It doesn't say anything about how good or bad I am as a person. It
Mm.
doesn't affect my well-being and security. It
Yeah.
doesn't say anything at all. It is just what it is
Yeah.
until it is not.
Yes, so that difference I hear that there in what you explained between taking responsibility and taking a blame for it, and sort of
Yeah.
attributing meaning, because I've seen that a lot in myself, that once you've decided, oh well, that means that I'm hopeless at this, or that means I'm a bad person in this sense, or whatever, that's so limiting, isn't it? Then you tell yourself this story, and then you live within it, well, I'm not somebody who could ever achieve that, and then you've kind of cut off that possibility. So just that openness of, okay, so that happened, but next time I could do it completely differently. It's very freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. When I see for myself who I really am, it doesn't even matter what's happening.
Mm.
Like, they are just like blips on the screen.
Yes.
These fluctuations, they don't really matter as much. So everything passes eventually.
Yeah, it's just that new perspective and level of consciousness that just makes everything look different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So life looks the same, but everything is different.
That's so funny, because that's exactly what I've heard other people say in these interviews. And I think, to some people listening, they're probably thinking, well, I don't really get that. But it's just so wonderful to hear people's stories, and, that we spend our whole time trying to change out there, and just knowing that out there doesn't have to change for everything to look completely different is,
Yeah.
it's just so hopeful. I think it's that I'll be happy when this happens, but it'll take me 10 years to get there. It's an exhausting prospect. Whereas if you can feel better, feel different, feel liberated now, without anything changing. You know, how much more positive that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that is true, because I was at a point where I was probably lowest in terms of the amount of money that I have in the bank. And also the guy that I had been dating, we just ended our relationship. And at that point, normally I would, like, normally people would think that I would be feeling like desperate or sad or, in despair. And amazingly, I was feeling so peaceful, so peaceful, so serene, and so in touch with my inner essence that I just felt like it was a blessing that I get to be here in this body and enjoying this ride. It doesn't matter.
That's absolutely beautiful. So, Emily, if people would like to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Sure. You can send me an email at emily@emilynature.com. So that's Emily at EMILYNATURE.com. And I also have a free 20-minute audio on the 3 misunderstandings that are stopping you from attracting the right man. So it's for women who are single and wanting to find their right partner to be in a relationship of their dream. And you can get that at emilynature.com/3M, number 3 and M lowercase.
Yeah, great. That's super. Thank you very much. So, as we said, Emily's a relationship coach for smart and successful women. So, do take her up on that. Get in touch with her if you're interested in finding out more or working with her. And Emily's also a clarity practitioner. And I know you work with clients all over the world, don't you, Emily? So wherever you are, do get in touch. I'm Lizzie Paish from changefromwithin.co.uk. You can contact me at lizzie@changefromwithin.co.uk. So, Emily, thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. I feel so much joy and pleasure and excitement just sharing this with you and with everyone.
Lovely.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.